So, if you've been following World of Warcraft for the past several years, you will notice that they have gone in a cycle with the way that they release their patches. They started with the release of an expansion, where everyone has a honeymoon phase and people think the expansion is all right. And then very quickly, people recognize that there are a lot of bullshit systems that get in your way and hold you back from actually having fun, and then people leave. And then towards the end of the expansion, Blizzard will then go ahead and remove these systems or make them easier to get people back into the game and hyped for the next expansion. And this cycle that they have doesn't only apply to the way they design the game, it also applies to the way they do their marketing. And the cycle that they go through the 6 step cycle. The first thing they do is they appeal to vets. They appeal to the people of old because they know it's going to be harder to bring in new players. They know it's going to be harder to bring in Zoomers. And so they're going to appeal to people who they've built Goodwill with. And so they're going to say things like, oh, in Battle for Azeroth, this is a return to, the Horde versus Alliance conflict. Remember in vanilla World of Warcraft when it used to be a Horde versus Alliance? Yeah, we're going to, do that again. Isn't that great? And then for Shadowlands, they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to remove class homogenization. We're going to make it so, a mage is a mage, not just a frost mage, which didn't really pan out, but that's what they were saying during BlizzCon. And then now for Dragonflight, they're saying, oh, talent trees, remember those from the classic days? Yeah, we're going to bring those back. And also, we're going to return to good old Azeroth. No more of this Shadowlands shit. We're going to go back to good old, tried and true Azeroth. And so that's the first thing they do. They appeal to their vets because they've had such a huge player base over the years. And I think something over like 100 million accounts have been created for World of Warcraft over the years. And so once they do that and they appeal to the vets, the next thing that happens is the influencers go ahead and then they follow the hype that Blizzard started. And listen, these are not chills, these are professionals. You should follow the hype. If it is your job to give the people what they want, and influencers go ahead and they give people what they want, they're just doing their job, okay? And they go in and they will, start hyping up the expansion. They will give alphas. That's why Blizzard gives the alphas only to content creators. The earliest alphas were given only to content creators. Why? Because the alpha is a lot more about marketing than it is about testing. That's why. And so then all of these influencers get the alpha and they're hyping up the game. And, they're talking about how amazing this feature is or how amazing that feature is. And, some of them might even point out problems like Preach did with Torghast for Shadowlands. But overall, it's going to be this positive reception, usually. Again, it doesn't even start with the creators. It starts with the audience. The audience is hyped for the expansion because Blizzard released a trailer. So then the professionals do what professionals should do because they're professionals. And then now you've entered into the hype snowball. This is phase 3, where you're in the hype snowball, where there was initial hype for the game from the players because Blizzard created it with their trailer and their marketing. So then the influencers and the content creators add to that hype by making content, which then adds to that hype, which then, rewards the content creators with more engagement, which then makes them make more content, and the cycle goes on and on and on and on. And if you take a look at, say, Goldfish, if you look at how Goldfish mate, the way that they mate is females are selective for who they want to mate with. And so the way that they choose the male they want to mate with is by seeing which male has the most other female goldfish surrounding him or trying to mate with him, and they'll just follow the crowd. This is social proof bias, and it's inherent in humans too. Humans see other humans doing things, humans do those things too. And you see your friends playing something, you're gonna go want to play with your friends. And so then the snowballs, bam, release. Their expansion releases. Blizzard's sales skyrocket. Shadowlands was actually the fastest selling PC game for a couple of weeks until Cyberpunk took the #1 spot. And so then once that happens, there's this hype that quickly is taken advantage of by Blizzard. And this is phase 5 now, where Blizzard tries to lock you in. So now that you're in the game, they got you. You're in now, right? They built the hype and people are playing the game and it's the first couple of weeks of expansion. They're like, okay, yeah, get the deluxe edition, get the big package. Or if you want this mount, subscribe with a 6-month sub. And they're trying to get as much money out of you as they can for that brief period of hype that they built to maximize profits as much as possible. Because you know what comes next? The very last phase is the mass exodus. Because then everyone's like, wow, things really haven't changed. This has happened for the past 3 or 4 expansions. You know, things fundamentally are the way they are. There might be some improvements here or there, but the fundamental problems with the core game design remains. Then you get the mass exodus, right? And then the negativity cycle starts. Oh, Blizzard, I can't believe this. I can't believe Blizzard did this. The World of Warcraft is dying again, right? And then we live in this negative cycle until they release the next expansion that appeals to veterans, and then the cycle just repeats itself time and time again. And this is their cycle. Does this cycle make them money? Yes, it makes them money because they've designed it in a way where they can make a lot of money in a short period of time. And although that engagement immediately goes straight down into the ground after a couple months after expansion release, they make a lot of money during that month. They sell a lot of expansions, and they sell a lot of 6-month subs, and they sell a lot of deluxe editions. And every 2 years, when an expansion comes out, this hype cycle gets smaller and smaller and smaller because Goodwill keeps getting more and more burnt out. There is less hype for Dragonflight than there has been for Shadowlands, than there has been for Battle for Azeroth, and for sure than there has been for Legion. Hype keeps going down because people are realizing the cycle that I just laid out. They're seeing right through it. Blizzard can't do this forever. People are going to catch on. And so when Dragonflight comes out later this year, it is going to be big. It's going to bang. Might it be as big as Shadowlands was? Probably not. Will it, be as hype as Legion and BFA? Probably not, but it will have a lot of hype because there are a lot of ex-WoW players and a lot of them who want to play the game again and a lot of them who want the game to be good. And there are way more ex-WoW players than there are, people who are even currently playing Final Fantasy. So they'll get a lot of people and they'll lose them immediately. Now, if you compare that to the approach that Square Enix takes with Final Fantasy XIV, when the game initially came out, no one liked it at all. Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 was a flop. So then they came out with 2.0 to try to, build a little bit of that goodwill and to apologize to their players who went ahead and played 1.0. And it was okay. A Realm Reborn was the current base game at the time. And, some people were playing it and they're like, this is all right. It's not bad. And then Heavensward came out. And by many people's standards, Heavenward was a enhancement. It was a better experience than the original Realm Reborn, than Stormblood. And then by the time Shadowbringers came out, we were like, holy shit, they have taken their formula, their core formula, and they've continued to enhance upon it, improve upon it, make it better. Combat is better. Story is better. Rating is better. Everything about it has gotten better. And then Endwalker comes out and follows that trend, where this is a trend you will notice a lot in Japanese artisanship. They find something, they commit to it, and then they spend decades of their lives improving it, enhancing it, making it better. That's why Yoshi P will come out in a live letter and talk about his 10-year plan for Final Fantasy XIV. That's why, From Software will make Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, Elden Ring. They're taking their core formula that worked, and they just enhance it and enhance it and enhance it. And what that creates is a slower ramp up over time, because they're not depending on hype. They're not using this very aggressive, westernized marketing to try to flashbang people long enough to stay engaged. What they're doing instead is they're building goodwill, which is what Blizzard actually did initially when vanilla was current. It's exactly what Square Enix is doing now with Final Fantasy XIV. They're making a game, they're making it good. Once it's good, they try to make it better. Once it's better, they try to make it even better than that. And if you look at these post-Endwalker expansions or patches, which I haven't gotten to yet, the sentiment remains the same, that they keep improving upon their formula. How do they do it? They find something that works, and then they make it better, and then they make it better, and they make it better, and they make it better. And so the product ends up selling itself. And, people become enthusiastic about the game. People become passionate about the game. So then they get other people to try it as well. as opposed to World of Warcraft's method, where it's just good old American. Let's make as much money as we can right now, or at least the way it's been for the past couple of years. And then, by the time the next expansion comes out, they'll forget, what happened 2 years ago, and we'll just repeat it again. And it is for that reason that when Dragonflight comes out, it will do extremely well. It will sell very well, and it will probably make their quarter. But in the long run, that doesn't last forever. And in the long run, every release has less sales than it had the release prior. Whereas when you build goodwill and you build a better product and you depend on the product being good versus the marketing being predatory, in the long run, that's what wins you the war. And in the long run, that's what's going to give you the success. Like From Software had with Elden Ring, that was a magnum opus of a game. And that's because they, put in a decade. They put in 15 years to see that outcome, which is what Square Enix is doing. They've put in their decade. And now, because they're playing the long game, they're starting to see the fruits. And that's all I had to say for this video. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.